Good morning and welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe. That is Nick Wright. Howard Beck is joining us on the show this morning.
Beck?
Good morning, Howard.
Good morning. Thank you for taking the time.
Nice to see. We got a great show on this rainy Monday morning here in New York City, but fret not, because how about this? Brian Westbrook is here. Antoine Walker is going to join us. And Daytona 500 pole sitter Ricky Stenhouse Jr. will stop by. But with Howard here, we're going to start in the NBA, so let's do just that.
Howard's bummed. He wanted to start with NASCAR. I said we got to start with the Lakers.
We talked him out of it. Here we go. It turns out that the Lakers will not be signing free agent point guard Darren Collison. That after a very public courting. Remember, he sat courtside with team owner Jeannie Buss last week. The 32-year-old point guard decided to remain retired, and now the Lakers, who stayed put at the trade deadline, reportedly turned their attention to recently waived Dion Waiters. Nick, are the Lakers in trouble after not signing Collison?
I think in trouble is far too strong. I do think this is a legitimate blow. And I want to say this on the top. I don't blame Collison, obviously, for deciding, hey, I thought I wanted to be retired. I want to stay retired. It's his prerogative. He seems to be very passionate about his work as a Jehovah's Witness, and God bless him for it. And I also don't blame Rob Pelinka for not being super active at the deadline. I wouldn't have given up Danny Green and Kyle Kuzma for Marcus Morris. And some would argue, well, he should have worked around the edges a little bit more. I have no idea what it's like to be Rob Pelinka right now. Kobe Bryant was his best friend. He is very close with the family, and dealing with all of that in the context of we have a trade deadline coming up. If there's ever someone that deserves a bit of a pass, it would be Pelinka in these couple weeks. With all that said, the Lakers need another ball handler. Darren Collison, for me, Howard, this offseason, before I knew he was going to retire, was one of the top free agent targets. Once they missed out on Kawhi, when we were listing people, I said Danny Green, Seth Curry, Darren Collison were the types I'd go after. Seth goes to Dallas. Danny retires. Or, I'm sorry, you have Collison retire and they get Danny Green. If they could have gotten Darren Collison, it would have been great. They don't. And now when you're to the Waiters portion of the buyouts, that's not a great option for anyone. There's a reason Dion Waiters only played 3 games for Miami this year, and there's a reason that despite his talent, he's bounced around the league. I still think this team can win the title. They'd still be my pick to win the title, but it is going to be all on the shoulders of LeBron James come the playoffs, because they have no one else they trust handling the ball or initiating the offense.
Which is why, and we may disagree on this when we do, my pick was the Clippers ever since the preseason, or even ever since July, because what the Clippers have that the Lakers don't is Lou Williams. Like, that's a very big luxury to have, is a Lou Williams, a guy who can score 20, 25, 30 points if you need it, who can handle the ball off the bench, who can anchor a second unit. And the Lakers don't have that. Now, the benefit for the Lakers is when you get to the playoffs, you and I both know, you put the ball in LeBron's hands, you don't worry much. He's going to play big minutes. He's going to...
Correct.
He's going to take the load. As he says, his shoulders are broad for a reason, for all kinds of reasons. He'll be fine. They will be fine, I think. I don't think Darren Collison is the guy who was going to make or break the Lakers' season. But I've always been concerned, and it was why I leaned Clippers by a little bit, Nick, not by a ton. I always lean Clippers because I thought they have that luxury that the Lakers don't. They both got their big 2, and those both have their benefits. It's having that Lou Williams type. Collison wasn't going to be that for the Lakers, but he would have at least given them another ball handler who could defend a little bit, who could shoot a little better than Rondo.
Knock down threes.
But they do have other guys. They do have Rondo. They do have Avery Bradley or an Alex Caruso, like some guys who soak up some minutes with the ball so that it's not in LeBron's hands 100% of the time.
Did you think Collison was going to be the tipping point for the Lakers, that one last piece that they needed?
Oh, I think, yeah. I would have rather them get Collison than Marcus Morris. I would have, he's the exact type of guy that can knock down shots, that can run an offense, that can defend a little bit, the exact thing they need. But to Howard's point about it all falling on LeBron, I think the minutes thing's important. He's going to play 42 minutes a game in the playoffs. That's what he averaged his last playoff run. And keep in mind, there are some blowouts in there going in each direction where he plays low minutes. So in close games, he's going to play at least 42, if not 44 minutes. The question is, can you survive those 5 to 7 minutes a night where he's on the bench, which in the past LeBron teams have struggled surviving. This year, and the reason why I'm as high on the Lakers as anyone over the Clippers is because when LeBron's on the court, they're the best team in basketball. basketball. They have the best numbers. We're the best team in the West. Milwaukee might be in a stratosphere by themselves at the moment. But they are clearly better to me than the Clippers when LeBron's on the court. The problem has not only been when LeBron goes to the bench, but it's been that Rondo is soaking up those minutes. And Rondo right now is a detriment to winning. The other benefit to Collison would have been he would take those Rondo minutes away.
Hopefully.
You would hope he would take those Rondo minutes away. I don't know if Frank Vogel has the stomach to do something that Luke Walton didn't have the stomach to do, which is say, Rajon, man, it's 2020. You might be a Hall of Famer one day, but that's based on what you did in the past. Those minutes should be going to Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso is not a great player, he's not a perfect player, but we now have 2 seasons of data that with the Lakers, he's a more effective player than Rondo. That's my concern, is that when LeBron goes to the bench, even if it's just into the first, into the third, does a 7-point lead turn into a 1-point lead because the Lakers crater with Rondo running the offense?
Right, and then the alternative, or I guess the antidote to that is, during those LeBron minutes, you better just pound whoever's in front of you.
Yes.
You better just get a nice big cushion so that when he's on the bench, you've got a little bit to play with.
And you did hear from, which is a little bit concerning, from LeBron this week, that he knows he has to play better. He doesn't like the way he's ending games and finishing games. So you kind of hope he gets the rest he needs going down the stretch where he's not put in that position where everything does solely fall on LeBron James.
Well, I think the 1 seed matters. I'm the only person in the world anymore that cares at all about the regular season, that thinks the Clippers, getting blown out by 30-some points to a terrible Timberwolves team, that we actually should pay attention to those things. But LeBron, for them to keep the 1 seed, LeBron's going to have to play 37, 38 minutes a night down the stretch. Him feeling a little worn out near the All-Star break, man, you can set your watch to it. LeBron James teams, and LeBron in particular, the weeks leading up to the All-Star break is when people start abandoning ship. It's when the team seems to be at its low point. I don't think they're at their low point right now, but I think you'll see a better version of the Lakers here in a couple weeks than you're seeing right now.
Sixers picked up a very much-needed win at home last night, albeit over the lowly Chicago Bulls. Joel Embiid had 28 points, while Ben Simmons put up a triple-double. Philly has dominated bad teams all season, probably because they're bad teams. 21-6 against teams below 500, 12-15 against teams above 500. All right, Nick, if you had to choose, would you rather build a team around Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons? Because we are getting to the point where it seems like you're now going to have to choose one or the other.
Which is crazy. If you'd have told me when there's 4 seconds left in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, and the Sixers are down 2, and Jimmy Butler is streaming up court, seemingly to either force overtime or maybe pull up, take a 3, try to win the game right there, that 9 months later, we'd be talking about breaking up the Sixers. Butler would be gone. That J.J. Redick would be gone. That now we're talking about who can you keep, Ben or Joel? I'd have said, you're crazy. This is it's going to be Philly and Milwaukee in the East for the next decade. But the way Philly has played, and the lack of maturity shown by their 2 stars, and the lack of cohesiveness with those 2 guys on the court at the same time, makes this a legitimate question. And to me, the easy answer is I'd rather build around Embiid. I'd rather trade Simmons. I think that Embiid, while I don't think he has reached his full potential, is certainly closer, and a guy who has shown the ability, if he can stay in shape and if he can get some of the NBA maturity stuff better in check, he can be a dominant force. In a league that is going small, having the biggest, strongest, potentially one of the toughest guys in the league can be an enormous benefit when he's as nimble as Joel has shown the ability to be. Meanwhile, Ben Simmons, if I show you video of him and I don't tell you what year it is, you have no idea what you're watching, whether it's first year Ben Simmons, second year Ben Simmons, this year Ben Simmons. He's the skill set that made him a tremendous rookie makes him disappointing at this point in his career. To me, there's no way around that. With that said, I do think he has trade value. I do think there would be teams that want him, teams that don't have a big man clogging the paint, that like what he could do. So if I have to trade one of them, Howard, I'm trading Ben because I do think he has enormous value, and I'm keeping Joel.
I can't disagree. I can't disagree. And by the way, if anybody thinks, oh, it's premature, or why are these people already talking about trying to break these guys up, or the media's trying to, let me tell you something. This is the conversation around the entire NBA. This is what other teams are talking about too, that those two do not click well together, that the Sixers have hit a ceiling, and that it's inevitable. Whether it's this summer or by next year's trade deadline, whatever it's going to be, the clock is ticking on Simmons and Embiid. Now, that's ultimately up to the Sixers to decide, not all of the chatterboxes around the NBA. But that is the buzz around the league. And to your point, Nick, I lean Embiid also. It's not just the makeup, the fact that he's a 7-footer who's got some guard skills and can do damage inside and out, and the power and the nimbleness, all of that. It's that Joel Embiid cares. I liked seeing tears from Joel Embiid's eyes after they were eliminated by the Raptors. I liked the passion that was behind that. Now, if you want to say, yeah, but he didn't follow up, he didn't come back in the best of shape, or he didn't, fine, I get that. He cares. I look at Ben Simmons, and I don't know sometimes. He is so just kind of
emotionless. Completely.
Yeah, I don't even know how. He just very stoic out there, and that doesn't necessarily mean you don't care, right? Kawhi Leonard showed us you can be stoic and still have a great passion burning inside.
But Kawhi's also shown us how much he cares by every single year of his career.
Yes,
coming back with a new skill or an improved skill or an involved
He's a
game.
completely different player now.
So he proves to us you can. If you're not going to tell us you care through your emotions, you have to show us you care through the evolution of your game, so to speak.
Yeah.
And we just haven't. Man, Jenna, you remember a couple years ago, I was as big of a Ben Simmons defender as there was, because I said we focus on the one thing he does poorly instead of all the other things he does great. And the argument was, of course, he'll get better at that one thing, but he hasn't. And maybe he's tried to get better in practice, but in the games, there's been no evidence whatsoever that he has any willingness to shoot the basketball, and that at this point in 2020, you can't win that way.
The thing that concerned me the most, Nick, was earlier, I think it was in this season, maybe it was in the preseason, where when the subject came up of his refusal to shoot, his reticence to shoot, it was basically, I'm an all-star. Like, that was an actual exchange that happened. You can't think that way. You know, we're all talking about for the last few weeks all the lessons we learned from Kobe Bryant in his career. What did Kobe do consistently throughout his career? He worked on his game. He strove to get better, and he constantly added things. Nobody can come into this league, no matter how talented you are, and say, you know what? I'm an all-star.
And rest on those laurels.
Yeah, it just doesn't work that way, not in the NBA.
And we're not in a place in a time right now where you're going to have a head coach that's going to force you to do certain things that you don't want to do. And the question with this team now becomes, what's more likely to happen? Ben Simmons learns how to shoot, or Joel Embiid gets in shape, the kind of shape you want to see him playing in? And I think you guys are both saying Joel Embiid is the one that's most likely going to change.
Howard, I've seen Joel in shape. And I think one of the things where I try to be fair with Joel, I understand he might have some eating habit issues, whatever that is. Because he's had injury issues and because he's so big, he can't do the regular conditioning guys need to do. He's going to have to at times play his way into shape because he can't do all of the off-season things cardiovascular-wise that you would need to do to be in tip-top shape, because he does have to be careful on his lower body and the lower extremities. And running 5 miles, for example, takes more wear and tear than just about any other player in the league other than Marjanovic. You know what I mean? Running 5 miles, because of how big he is. And so I don't want to say I give him a pass, but I understand it. The Simmons stuff's inexcusable. And the attitude stuff that you're much closer to league circles than I am, but I still hear certain things. Man, people do wonder, is Ben Simmons more infatuated with being a star than he is with being a star player? Like, that is a real, I don't know Ben, so I can't speak to it. I know that is, whether it's true or not, a question people around the league have about him.
And it's not an unusual one. I don't know Ben Simmons well enough to know either whether that's the case. But it is the case that happens with NBA players, right? We know that this happens. Yes. There are some guys who are more about the lifestyle and the limelight and the payday than they are about a passion for winning. And again, this goes back to my just distance observation of these two guys. Embiid has a passion and a caring there that you can see, that's evident. His emotions are on his sleeve. Ben Simmons does not. It makes me wonder.
One quick follow-up point. Because Ben Simmons might be on the trade block this summer, this was one of the reasons that I thought that Golden State trade was such an abomination. That if the Warriors end up with the #1 pick, which they have the worst record, I know you're far from it, I wonder what Philly says to D'Angelo Russell and the #1 pick for Ben Simmons. Because I think
they can do better.
You think who can do better?
I think the Sixers can do better. If Simmons is on the block, they're going to be able to do better.
Do better than even that. Okay,
yes.
Fair enough. The point, because I think Ben actually would fit great in Golden State because he doesn't need to shoot because you have all the shooting in the world around you. And I think D'Angelo Russell would be a much better fit next to Joel, even though Ben might be a better player than D'Angelo Russell. It's just, if Ben Simmons comes available, I think there's going to be a lot of people that feel like we can fix either what ails him or we won't even ask him to change because we don't have a Joel Embiid clogging the paint.
Look, we've done the Sixers so many times. Every time we finish, I could easily say the same sentence. You can count on one hand the amount of times Ben Simmons has shot a three-point shot. What is it now, 3 or 4,
maybe?
It's certainly Kyle O'Quinn has more threes than he does.
There you go. All right, let's talk some football now. On to the Dallas Cowboys. Among the juicier rumors swirling, how about this one? Dak Prescott being replaced by Tom Brady. It picked up some traction this weekend, but Stephen Jones quickly refuted it, saying his currently unsigned quarterback, Dak Prescott, is, quote, the guy that can help us win championships. Nick, what should the Cowboys do with Dak Prescott?
All right, so I find this really fascinating, this conversation. And I thought the Brady rumor was great because it's something we joked about months ago.
Brady replacing Dak.
I feel like if Tom Brady signed with the Dallas Cowboys, we'd rename the show. First things first with the Dallas Cowboys. They'd occasionally talk about LeBron, and it would just be wall to wall. We had Brady on the Cowboys. I was like, man, my job just got so easy. But I don't think it's likely, but you understand how they could thread the needle if Dak were to move on. So what should the Cowboys do? Assuming that Dak has not drastically changed what his contract demands appear to have been for the last year, which is top of the market money, I think their only option is to franchise tag him. But that then does bring into play another option, which is if you franchise tag him, I would be very interested if I'm Dallas talking around the league. What is the trade value of Dak Prescott? I saw Frank Clark, who's a good player. He's not one of the 5 best pass rushers in football. He's a good player, and he made some great plays for my Chiefs this postseason. He got franchise tagged. He went for a 1 and a 2, a first and a second round pick for Frank Clark, traded under the franchise tag. D Ford, who was traded under the franchise tag, went for a second round pick. Laramie Tunsil just went not under the franchise tag, but he just went for 2 number 1s and something. The reason I bring it up is, what could the Cowboys get for Dak Prescott? If they were to believe we can sign Tom Brady short term, we can sign Tom Brady, give him the offensive line he wants, the running game he wants, a number 1 receiver, have the money because...
And figure the quarterback out later.
Figure the quarterback post-Brady out later. Could the Cowboys get 2 1s and something for Dak Prescott? Would the Los Angeles Chargers, who are trying to sell tickets, who don't have a quarterback, who have the 6th pick of the draft, would they give you the number 6 overall pick and their first rounder next year and maybe something else for the opportunity to stabilize their quarterback position and say, screw it, we'll pay him all the money he wants? If I were Dallas, I would at least want to know, because I would certainly rather have a whole bunch of draft picks and a whole bunch of cap space than pay Dak $37 million a year. Now, if Dak's contract demands have dropped significantly, it changes things. But if I franchise tag Dak, I'm asking around the league as quietly as I can, what is his value to you? What would you give me for him?
There's a reason why teams normally don't allow their quarterback to get in this position. Not just because of the money, but because he's the face of your franchise. He's the guy that's going to hold things together. He is the guy that's going to deliver the message to the team, to the public, everything else. And the Cowboys, if they think that Dak is a guy that's going to bring them championships in the future, they should have never allowed this to happen. Dak is coming off his best season as a pro. 4,900 yards, passing, 30 touchdowns, only 11 interceptions. He has been impressive. You know, when you talk about the guys that you compare him to, Jared Goff as well as Carson Wentz, both of those guys got paid with 2 years left on their contract. And I have to believe that this contract for the Cowboys doesn't necessarily come down to average per year. It's not $35 million or $36 million per year. I don't think it comes down to that. I think it comes down to guaranteed money, the little small fine print, the incentives, those types of things. And once they figure that out, this gets done. To me, this is a no-brainer. You don't want 43-year-old Tom Brady. You want a young Dak Prescott and allow this team to build with him.
But still, 2 off seasons ago, we all sat here and we're like, well, Dak Prescott will be signed before Saturday. He'll be signed before the first game of the season, no problem. He went from being their franchise, their guy, the rock and the foundation of the Dallas Cowboys, and now here we are talking about possibly, I know there's just rumors, but maybe Dak leaves the Cowboys. I mean, this was Jerry Jones's guy. How did we get to this point?
Well, I think at some point, a negotiation, and you see this happen in the media business sometimes, you see this happen in the business world sometimes, which is 2 parties that ostensibly need each other and want to be together just have very, very different opinions on the value, and it causes a separation. There are, I think back to, Howard Stern when he left to go to satellite radio. Man, terrestrial radio didn't want to lose him. He just thought, hey, I'm worth, what, 80 million, 100 million a year? And they said, we need you, we love you, we want you, but we can't pay you that. And he found someone who could. It wasn't because they hated each other. At least, and maybe I have the Stern history slightly wrong, but
sure,
the general story I think people understand, which is sometimes people just, I am worth X. And the person trying to pay you said, man, you're worth X minus 10. And you can't meet in the middle. That's the only reason the Cowboys and Dak haven't yet come to an agreement. But you would be comfortable paying Dak, maybe not highest paid in the league, but make him one of the 4 or 5 highest paid quarterbacks in football.
Well, I think it comes down to guarantees, and so I put him at 35, between 35 and 40 million a year, right? And obviously he's not going to get 40. That's Patrick Mahomes' money. So he's not going to get 40. But let's say he's 35. Let's say that's the number, and you get him his guarantees. Carson Wentz got 66.5 million at signing, 107 guaranteed, right? Jared Goff, 55, 56 million or so at signing, and then 110 guaranteed. So if you're Dak, you're saying, I want to have that ability to be in that range. That's the type of numbers.
120 million guaranteed.
That has to be the numbers that you want to work with.
Think about how much extra comes with being the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. That's not from what the Cowboys are paying you that you may not get if you go somewhere else.
Well,
you never know.
That's incentive.
You're as marketable as they come.
If I'm Jerry Jones, this thing is simple. I don't want the outside noise. I just want to set my team and be ready to play football. And in order to do that, you certainly need the quarterback to be able to sign.
If I'm Dallas, I am curious. Am I better off with a couple extra first-round picks from, let's say, Los Angeles Chargers, and Teddy Bridgewater at $15 million a year with 2 extra first-round picks and an extra $20 million a year to play with, or Dak Prescott? I think that's a real conversation you have to have if it gets to the point of franchise tagging him, and you do. To me, those are questions I would be asking.
If you're talking about a defensive-wise, a defense that gave up, that was 25th in takeaways, those first-round picks, getting those extra things and having more money, that makes more sense.
It's an interesting question.
Many have speculated that if Tom Brady does remain in New England, it'll be because of team owner Robert Kraft, who has said publicly he wants him, not because of Bill Belichick, who at times has been rumored not to want him. This morning, a new report says Belichick will make the Brady decision without an edict from Kraft. Nick, with reported free reign here, should Belichick move on from Tom Brady?
Well, to me, this is totally about price. That because they do not have an obvious heir apparent waiting in their wings, and because if they move on from Brady, you're talking Stidham, don't know about that, Andy Dalton, Marcus Mariota, maybe you'll trade for Cam Newton, which I think would be really interesting, but that's probably more hypothetical than anything else. To me, price does dictate this, but I think the biggest news here is that Robert Kraft is doing the right thing. Robert Kraft, without saying it, is saying, and I believe Tom Curran's report, Tom Curran is the person we should believe. If people are reporting diametrically opposed things, I would believe Tom, who's on the ground, been covering this team for 20 years. That Robert Kraft is picking, if he's forced to, he's picking Belichick moving forward over Brady. If he's forced to, what he's not going to do is risk blowing up his relationship with his coach over an extra couple years of Tom Brady. Now, I think Robert Kraft would love to have his cake and eat it too. Pardon me for the cliche. He'd love to be able to keep them both and keep Brady as long as he can play, keep Belichick for another decade. But I think Robert Kraft knows if I say to Bill Belichick, next year Tom Brady's our starting quarterback, you must make it happen, Belichick might say to me, and next year I'm not your head coach because you have violated my contract. That I haven't seen Belichick's contract. I guarantee you it has in there in black letter, full control over football decisions, and he would say it voids it. So to me, that's the news here, is that Robert Kraft knows I want Brady back, but not at the expense of losing my head coach.
If I'm Bill Belichick, of course you want to be back there, but if I'm Robert Kraft, I'm going with the guy that has brought us 9 Super Bowl appearances and 6 Super Bowls. Of course, whatever Bill Belichick wants, he's going to end up getting. But to me, this wasn't about Belichick and Kraft's relationship. This was about getting the leverage back from Tom Brady just a bit. We've seen what Tom Brady has said over these last couple of days and kind of hinting towards free agency, the little commercial with Hulu, all those different types of things. It kind of, in my opinion, Tom was trying to get the leverage on his side and maybe some fan support as well. And Robert Kraft came out earlier on a couple of weeks ago and said, we'll pay Tom whatever, we just want him back. The leverage goes to Tom Brady. This move right here by saying, Robert Kraft is now allowing Bill Belichick to make the decision, that gives the leverage back to the Patriots just a little bit. And to me, that's simple. That's easy to see. And I think now you're saying it's a numbers game. And that Tom Brady understands it, Bill Belichick understands it, as well as Robert Kraft. And if it's $30 million, to me, that's a great number for Tom Brady.
Wow.
Would you not pay him $30 million?
No. I wouldn't pay him $30 million.
Okay, let's say you don't. Then you have to deal with Bridgewater, Jameis Winston, Ryan Tannehill, maybe Fitzpatrick. A lot of different things, a lot of different unknowns. In New England, they haven't had those unknowns in a very long time. That may be a tough pill for Bill Belichick to swallow.
Just a real quick follow-up for a moment, Jenna. When you say Brady, it's a shift of leverage. Someone leaked to the NFL Network that the Patriots are willing to go over $30 million. Mm-hmm. Tom Curran knocked that report down. It would appear that leak did not come from within the Patriots. There's one other party involved that would be potentially leaking that. It'd be Brady's camp. And I do think that's to your point, that this coming out is to reassert power of the situation. And I don't think people understand the way the Patriots would have to thread this needle. Brady's going to hit free agency. The whole reason to have the franchise tag removed from being a possibility is so he could hit free agency. That means he can't talk to teams until March 16th. The Patriots can't talk to players outside that aren't on their team right now until March 16th. So what? You've got 2 days to negotiate with players to show Tom we're bringing in this player, that player. But would those players accept? Without knowing if Tom's going to be there.
Quarterback is going to be.
And so and how much money the Patriots are going to have. I know that according to our friends at Fox Bet, Brady's a huge favorite to return to New England. I don't get why. All the evidence seems to continually point that he is at least going to explore his options, and that the Patriots, I don't think, are going to end up offering him, Jenna, the biggest deal out there.
So let me ask you a quick question. I know how you feel then. Do you feel after everything you've read, all the reports and all the rumors, that we're closer to Tom Brady returning or not returning, that these two sides are going to patch themselves up or not?
I still think that Tom Brady returns to New England. I just can't see this team without Tom Brady for a lot of different reasons, because of the stronghold that Bill Belichick has on the team, the certainty that he wants at that position and what Tom Brady provides. Also, there's a double that you know what Tom Brady's going to bring.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of inconsistency when you talk about all the other quarterbacks out there, Dak, Jameis Winston, Ryan Tannehill. That's inconsistent play, interceptions.
Sure.
Tom Brady doesn't offer you that. That's why I think he goes back to New England.
Tom Curran wrote that Brady's been asking for an extension since 2017. That last summer he would have taken, according to Tom Curran, the extension Drew Brees got. 2 years, $50 million, $25 million per. The Patriots would not offer him that, coming off a Super Bowl championship. Coming off his worst year, where he will finish the season losing to Ryan, Fitzpatrick and Tannehill. They about to offer him 30? That I don't see happening. Somebody will, though.
We are just 6 days away from the greatest day in all of racing, the Daytona 500, kicking off the 2020 NASCAR season. It is Sunday, 2:30 Eastern, with the pre-race beginning at 1 p.m. only on Fox. And we're now joined live in studio by pole winner Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Congratulations, Ricky.
Congrats, man.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
So how does it feel heading into the race as the pole sitter? Where are you at right now?
Well, right now, just kind of soaking in yesterday. The guys at JTG Doherty Racing built a really fast race car, obviously. And
hope so.
Anytime you go down and, we all qualify and you have the fastest car in Daytona, it's always a good start to the weekend.
You just mentioned JTG Doherty, pardon me. You had been with Roush Fenway your whole career, right?
Yeah.
And so first time really with JTG Doherty, You win the pole for the Daytona 500. Take us through the change and the validation, maybe. I know it's very early, but the validation.
It's definitely very early, but you know, it was a kind of a refreshing offseason after being at a company for so long and the same team. We won a lot of races and championships there, but then you know, it's just nice to get a fresh start and kind of revitalize and kind of re-energize myself to, you know, jump back in the seat and hang out in the shop and, you know, meet all the new people. But the off season goes by really fast in our sport. We end, you know, in November, pick right back up in February. But the off season is quick. But hanging out with the team and, you know, coming down and, you know, with a new team, new sponsors, new manufacturers, and sitting on the pole of the Daytona 500 is pretty special.
Yeah, you changed teams. You got new sponsors. You have new everything. But the one thing you did bring with you was your former crew chief, Brian Patty. How big of a key is that to you as far as the racing goes?
Yeah, Brian's been instrumental in, I feel like, kind of stepping my career up and my level in the Cup Series. His intensity is pretty strong, and this is one goal that he had coming into the offseason was, hey, we are going to bring the fastest car in Daytona to the racetrack, and they worked really hard this offseason on that. But he pushed me to my wins in 2017, where we last won at Daytona.
What was that?
In the Coke Zero 400, the summer race. So now we got to win the Daytona 500 coming up on Sunday. That would be huge to start our season that way.
And what would that mean to you to be able to start the season, biggest race, with a win, coming off winning the pole? Just talk to me about what that would mean to you.
Yeah, you know, our sport's a little bit different. Having, you know, our biggest race of the year.
You basically have the Super Bowl at the beginning of your season.
We do have the Super Bowl. Obviously, we still want to win the championship at the last race of the year in Phoenix, but all in all, this is the Great American Race. This is the race that, you know, all of us drivers want to win, and, you know, they can't really take that trophy away from you once you win it. And so for us, it would be, you know, huge to get our Kroger car in victory lane come Sunday. But it's a tough race. The cars are hard to drive. They're sliding around a lot, and you gotta be there at the end. It's 500 miles.
So I've never raced cars. I did run track though, and
same thing.
Yeah, but there's a reason I bring it up. I feel like it's similar.
I ran track sometimes.
But so like an actual race, like you're running the 800, that's like the actual race, and that you see where you are in relation to your competition. Qualifying's like when you're in the pits, like you're doing a long jump. You go post a score, and then you got to watch. You were what, 17th, 18th?
Yeah, we went out 18th.
18th. So you post a time, and then you're just watching, and you're waiting and seeing, is someone going to top my time? Take me through the emotions of when you post and you realize, all right, right now we are in the figurative pole position, and then trying to hold on essentially for dear life when there's nothing else. You've already done your work.
You can't do anything. You're just sitting there watching. Yeah, it was nerve-wracking, but I enjoyed it. It was, you know, a really fun experience because it was like I knew we had a fast race car. If we could, you know, go out, lay our lap down. And Daytona's kind of weird. Like, you know, we draw for our spot for where we go out. It's a random draw. So we went out 18th. The winds kind of picked up a little bit towards the end of qualifying, and they were a headwind down the back straightaway. So we posted our lap. I felt like it was a really good lap. I thought the racetrack with the conditions slowed down from the day before, and we actually went faster than what we did the day before in our practice runs. So I was really confident, but then we still had to dodge a few bullets with you know, our other Chevy teammates that were lining up, ended up half a tenth away from us. So I was a little nervous.
You know, I played most of my career with a chip on my shoulder. That was kind of my way of being successful. That was the hunger that drove me. And you kind of got let go, released from Rouse Fenway unexpectedly. Does that leave a chip on your shoulder, make you feel like you have something to prove just a bit?
It does, for sure. And I think that's kind of, you know, one of those things that, like I said earlier, kind of just re-energized myself to like, hey, let's put a lot of focus into it. Let's make sure I'm doing everything that I can inside the car, outside the car, you know, at the shop with the team. And, you know, like I brought Brian Patty over with me. He's kind of got that chip on his shoulder. Mike Kelly that is working on all of our wind tunnel cars. He was my crew chief when we won our Xfinity championships. We all kind of have that same chip on our shoulder, and it's nice to have those people in your corner with you. Transitioning to that new team, everybody's been great in the new organization at JTG Doherty Racing. Just the atmosphere is what I've been looking for, and we're ready to go.
So Nick mentioned he ran track, and then Brian mentioned that, he played in the NFL. So I played high school volleyball, and in many ways it's just like the Daytona. No, I'm just kidding. What would a successful year look like for you? These are near impossible races to win. What is considered a successful career, points-wise at least, for you guys?
Yeah, for us, we're looking to make it back to the playoffs. We were in the playoffs. Winning 2 races in 2017. 18-19 kind of struggled. We had speed in 2019, but we just never put it all together week in and week out consistently. But I do feel like, I feel like the jump that JTG Racing has made, just in qualifying and the speed that we brought in this race car this weekend. Like you said earlier, it's just the first weekend, long season. But, we go to Las Vegas after Daytona, and we're putting that same amount of effort into our Las Vegas car. Then we go to Fontana and Phoenix, and I feel like the whole team's kind of putting in extra hours, working Saturdays, and doing whatever it takes to make sure that we have fast race cars. So that being said, we want to make the playoffs. We want to win a race, and just kind of go.
Just start the thing off going pole to pole in the Daytona 500. Be the first pole sitter to win it in 20 years, and so you're basically locked in. So
that was a bad stat. I didn't want to hear that stat.
Well, it's bound to. Someone's going to break that, so it might as well be you.
I like that.
There it is.
I heard you off the air though, and you're obviously a professional car racer, but you're an all-around sports fan.
Oh yeah.
You're an Ole Miss guy, right?
I am.
All right. What do you think of Lane?
I'm on it. I'm on the train. Let's go. I'm
Lane
looking
Kiffin,
forward.
I should have said, the new head coach for Ole Miss football.
I'm looking forward to the Egg Bowl with Mike Leach and Mississippi State, Lane Kiffin. I think that's going to be interesting. Kind of duo going at it.
Well, you can't talk about Ole Miss football without talking about Eli Manning, and obviously obviously he's retiring now. The big question is he a Hall of Famer? That's the number one question for his career.
I don't see how you can not put him in the Hall of Fame. I know he's a 500-win quarterback, but MVPs, Super Bowls, I think you got to go with it.
That sounds really forceful. You're like definitely going to be in there. So there you go.
I think he's definitely going to be in, but it's not my decision.
All right, real quick though, before you go, because you're also a basketball fan. I don't ever participate in this debate. I think it's overwrought. But some people talk LeBron versus Jordan. I'm just curious where you come out on that.
Well, I watch LeBron a lot more than I watch Jordan, and I remember it a lot more. So
a little recency.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with LeBron.
Smart man.
Here's a question that all America really wants to know. You drive fast for a reason. When's the last time you got a speeding ticket?
It's actually been over a year.
Really? You're not driving yourself anymore?
You don't drive fast?
No, the reason why it's been a while is because one year I got pulled over like 10 times.
Wow.
I didn't get 10 tickets. I just got pulled over 10 times. But that kind of slowed me down a little bit.
How many speeding tickets do you think
Why are you
Nick
talking
has?
about me?
Just because when you talk about above 100, I think it's a big number that I think
Nick seems like a guy that would be in a rush an awful lot. Weaving in and out of traffic.
Listen, man, I got
Nick,
a lot.
when he gets stopped, he goes, I ran track in high school. So I feel
These takes don't give themselves. I got places to be.
Ricky, good luck this Sunday at the Daytona 500. We will definitely be watching. Appreciate your time this morning. Much more First Things First right after this.
Ricky is my size, man. I can do this. I can drive cars. 500 laps, easy work.
Back here with Howard Beck. So on Friday, our guy Nick right here had quite the hot take on the Warriors.
It's not a hot take
for Andrew Wiggins.
My God.
Blistering. The take spilled over onto social media and had everybody talking this weekend.
Everyone's so mad at me.
Wiggins scored 24, though, Nick, in his Warriors debut.
Matt Barnes threatened me with physical violence over my Andrew Wiggins take.
In a loss to the Lakers, here is Wiggins after the game.
I feel like when you're losing, there's going to be a little dark shadow over you. But I'm here now. This is a winning culture, a winning team. So hopefully people can, take a different view and, just watch us ball.
All right, Nick, what do you think? You expect Wiggins to actually... Okay, you're laughing, so I think
I just thought it was funny. He talked about how it's different now that you're winning after a loss, but it's fine. He played well. He played very well in that game.
Do you expect him to help Clay and Steph get the Warriors back to contention, dominance, relevance, any of it?
No, and listen, Howard, you can tell me I'm wrong, but here's the thing. Nobody thought Andrew Wiggins was good 96 hours ago. Nobody. But then the Warriors trade for him, and it's as if he gets some magic fairy dust sprinkled on his head, and he's going to be a different player. We know who Andrew Wiggins is. And this idea of, he's held up against the fact that he's number 1 overall pick, and so he's judged unfairly. He's held up against his contract, so he's judged unfairly. Andrew Wiggins, as the 20th pick on a mid-level contract, does not contribute to winning. He is people can say, now he's not going to be asked to be the number 1 option. He's going to be asked to be the 3rd option, like in 2018 in Minnesota on a good team that made the playoffs. That, according to Basketball Reference, was -10 per 100 possessions with him on the court. That year he was 8th on the team in PER. Last year he was 11th on his bad team in PER. We know guys like this across the league that profile out as, wow, he's going to be an awesome defender. Well, you got to try, and he hasn't shown effort on that end. Well, he's going to develop into a three-point shooter. Well, it's been 6 years and he's 33%. So maybe the light bulb's going to turn on. I thought there was a few things, Howard, most basketball people were aligned on. One is that Andrew Wiggins does not contribute to winning. But now he's on the Warriors, so magically he will. I don't understand it. So, no, I don't think he's going to help Steph and Clay get back to an NBA Finals.
All right, so the first point I would make here, Nick, as an NBA, I don't know if I'm an NBA expert, but I've covered the league for a long time. You want my NBA expertise? Here's my advice to you. Do not mess with Matt Barnes.
Okay.
Start there.
I didn't mess with Matt. Matt Barnes messed with me.
All right, Matt Barnes messes with you. Don't mess back.
Okay, fair enough.
Let it go. Second point would be this. I have seen long enough in this league where a guy can look like a bust or a washout on one team and is better somewhere else. It's not magic fairy dust that the Warriors can sprinkle on him, although they may have some of that too. I do think that a player, no matter what their talent level, and especially if there was somebody who had high expectations and high talent, high upside coming into the league and didn't quite work out, because when you get drafted high, you're a franchise savior and you got everything on you. When they go somewhere else and you just have to play a role, it's different. It's not the same as being with a Jimmy Butler who was just imported yesterday and a Karl Anthony Towns who's still growing into who he's supposed to be. This is joining a team that went to 5 straight finals, won 3 championships, that has the best shooting backcourt in the history of the game, that has a 3rd star in Draymond Green, whatever he may be in his physical makeup by the time. But let's see what Andrew Wiggins is next to a fully healthy, recharged, and slightly retooled Warriors lineup next season. I'm not saying that it changes everything about Andrew Wiggins' resume up to this point, and I don't think the whole league has all of a sudden decided he's okay and that we should forget about Minnesota. I do think that with no pressure and no need to carry anything, we'll see a different version of him come next season.
But here's the other problem. People say they're only going to ask him to be Harrison Barnes. Okay, so let's actually remember what this Warriors team was pre-KD when it had Harrison Barnes. They almost lost to OKC. They did lose to Cleveland. And the year before, Cleveland took them 6 when the second best player is Matthew Dellavedova. And that was when Steph was unanimous MVP level Steph, not 32-year-old Steph, who we're about to see. When Draymond was Defensive Player of the Year, all everything, as opposed to 7, 7, and 7 on horrific shooting as he is now. And listen, Draymond, I believe, is a Hall of Famer. I think Draymond should have 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. I have nothing but respect for what he's accomplished. He's in a different phase of his career. The only guy who I think we should expect to be at the same level he was during that run is Clay.
Who's still coming off an injury.
We'll see when he's coming off the knee. It's a great point. And that team was barely good enough to win 1 title. Now, the next year they looked like the greatest team I'd ever seen until the playoffs started, when the Thunder had them and then the Cavs actually beat them. And here's the other problem. Harrison Barnes is better than Andrew Wiggins. Like, just flatly. Harrison Barnes ain't great. He's better than Andrew Wiggins. This is not, I'm not trying to kill the guy, but you said it was a hot take. I thought everyone agreed on this take. And I do believe that if there are 25 teams in basketball that if they traded for Wiggins would be mocked. The Warriors do it, and they're geniuses. If the Sacramento Kings had traded for Andrew Wiggins, we would be crushing them, killing them.
For sure.
He's this, right?
Yes, but if Andrew Wiggins were acquired by the Miami Heat, the San Antonio Spurs, there is a difference. The good franchises, the stable ones with great, strong cultures, you give them the benefit of the doubt when they get a guy who's got a little bit of the blossom off. And so Andrew Wiggins to the Warriors should be treated differently than if the Kings or the Knicks or one of the franchises that always gets it wrong had acquired him.
Well, one of the reasons the smart franchises get the benefit of the doubt is the smart franchises almost never trade for a max contract player who has never contributed to winning.
I trust Bob Myers and Steve Kerr, though.
Okay, I don't. This would be an all-time reclamation project. And the other reason I take issue with this trade is I think the Warriors just looked at it from the wrong angle. They obviously, according to the value, traded away the better player for the inferior player. That's why they got the draft pick attached to it, right? No matter what people think of D'Angelo Russell, whether his value is that of an all-star or not, it's the Timberwolves who had to attach the pick, yes, not the Warriors, right?
Yes,
so
absolutely fair.
That means that they view Russell as more valuable than Wiggins. I think that's the opposite type of trade the Warriors should be making. I think they should have waited till this offseason, take their asset D'Angelo, even if it's not a blue chip asset, pair it with whatever draft pick they have, and try to get an impact player. Try to get someone that isn't a reclamation project. Try to get someone who actually can help them next season because they are capped out. This is going to be their team. They're at $128 million for Steph, Clay, Wiggins, and Draymond. This is going to be their squad. Their only move was trade D'Angelo and the pick, and instead they traded D'Angelo for a worse player on the same contract to get another pick? I don't understand it.
I mean, look, Nick, admittedly, I did not think they would trade him at the trade deadline. I thought they would wait to see what's available at the draft or what's available on July 1st.
You're talking about the Warriors.
Yes.
The Warriors, correct, yes. D'Angelo Russell, his market value is not high. Higher than Wiggins? Sure. And you're right to bring out the pick. And that was why Minnesota had to send the pick. If they had waited, though, how much better could the Warriors have done? We will never know. I don't know that they were going to get any spectacular offers because D'Angelo Russell is also viewed with a little bit of a jaded lens around the league.
For sure.
Not as jaded as Wiggins, but still some suspicion.
I am curious because I didn't watch the first game without Wiggins. Timberwolves, who hadn't won in a month. What did they? They blew out the Clippers. A Clippers team that was playing Kawhi too. They blew them out. That was shocking.
You don't think your Wiggins take was a hot take?
No, I thought everyone agreed.
All right, moving on to the Patriots now. A report from Tom Curran's column on NBCSports.com says that Tom Brady feels like he's been seen as a stopgap for the Patriots, just a short-term solution until they find something better at the quarterback position. So, Nick, I guess you have to ask, have the Patriots disrespected Tom Brady?
Well, this is the corner I've been on for quite some time, and this is why I think Brady is earnestly and honestly weighing his options. Is because Tom Curran wrote there that since 2017, he has been asking them for a contract extension. And every year they will rework it. They will either give him a raise, or if you remember a couple years ago, they wouldn't even give him a raise. They just gave him incentives, none of which he happened to actually reach that year, so he didn't get it. Last year he wanted an extension. Tom Curran says he would have taken the Drew Brees extension. 2 years, $50 million. $25 million a year, which is an absolute, puts you outside of the top 12 as far as highest paid quarterbacks. Bargain. Absolute bargain. He was coming off his 6th Super Bowl, by the way. He's 1 year removed from a league MVP. And the Patriots said, nah, we're good. He's the most accomplished football player ever. Some would argue the greatest football player ever. No one would argue against that he's the greatest quarterback ever. And he has a goal. And the goal is to play till he's 45. And the goal is also to play his whole career for the Patriots. And they have not given him a contract that allows him to even get within spitting distance of the goal. So you define disrespect however you want. I do not think they have treated him the way you would expect most franchises to treat the greatest players in the history of their respective sports. I will say it's somewhat similar to how the Bulls at the end treated Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan retired probably the second time earlier than he intended to. And we know that because he came back with the Washington Wizards. And I think a lot of people thought The Bulls didn't pay Michael Jordan the due respect he deserves. I wonder if we're looking at a similar end for Tom Brady, where he has to finish his career with a different team because his current team doesn't want to commit to him and the pieces around him long term.
The question for Tom Brady and the Patriots is, can he carry the football team anymore? Can you exist and win football games without a lot of pieces around you? And I think we found out this year that it's going to be hard for them to compete at a high level without the pieces around him. And so is he a stopgap? Pretty much. I mean, they're trying to figure out who's going to be the next guy, and they've been trying to figure that out for a couple years, obviously after they got rid of Jimmy G. And so if I'm Tom Brady, I understand that. And towards the end of everyone's career, you just mentioned Michael Jordan, one of the greatest, if not the greatest player of all time. Tom Brady, certainly that in football. And he had to do something else. He had to go to the Washington Wizards because at some point, teams say, and Tom Brady should understand this more than anyone because they do this in New England all the time, but at some point you say, you know what, you're worth here as far as your value, which you bring on the floor or on the field, is not going to be equal to the amount that we're going to have to pay you to keep you here. And I think they're at the point right now that you're saying if $30 million isn't the number, if they're not even willing to give $25 million at that point, and Tom's not willing to accept that, then it's time for him to move on. If I'm Tom Brady, that's my two options: either stay and accept $25 million or move on. And if you don't want to accept $25 million, then now you have to go find a new place to do it, and that's hard to do when you're 43 years old.
Of course he's a stopgap, and no disrespect to Tom Brady. He's not the long-term solution. He may not even be a 2-year solution. He would be maybe 1 year to avoid all this mess, this like muddiness that we're sort of currently in right now, which all could have been avoided had the Patriots just
not
like you said,
treated him like a stopgap
and just extended him for 2 years or whatever and paid him next to nothing compared to what he deserves.
But so the issue is, and by the way, I do not think Brady brings the value on the field requisite to demand a $30 million salary. Not anymore. I think once upon a time, obviously, he brought the value requisite to demand a $50 million salary, and he played for discounts for a large portion of the last decade, but that was his choice. He didn't have to do that, and I think he expected them to make it right on the back end, and they are not doing that. But I do think there's an element of people assuming that, well, if the Patriots just equal whatever his best, financial offer from another team is, he'll stay there. But what if another team is willing to give him multiple years? What if the Patriots do come up to 25, 27, 28 million, whatever it is, but someone else is willing to give him 2 years? Maybe someone would even give him 3 with a partial guarantee in the final year. To me, that's going to be the compelling piece for Tom. And we have no evidence the Patriots will do that. They wouldn't give him the 2-year extension coming off the season before this one, when he was better and they won the Super Bowl. I cannot imagine they're going to give him a 2-year extension now when he's coming off his worst year.
You can imagine a team giving him 2 years and an option?
Well, I don't. When I say option, would be on the team side of things. But yes,
depend on the team. If you're the Chargers, maybe if you need a superstar.
If you need to sell tickets, if you don't have stability at the position, if you believe what a lot of people believe, not me, but that Brady was more a victim of his circumstances than a victim of his own poor play, absolutely, I could see it.
Tom Brady has been in New England for a long time. He understands the dynamic. He understands how they do business. It's weird to me that he's played for a discount his entire career, where he should have been the highest paid quarterback pretty much in his entire career. And now at 43, coming off one of the worst seasons that he's had, he now wants to get paid like one of the top tier quarterbacks. That's just not how it works, not only in the NFL, but certainly not in New England.
But I think here's why. I think Brady took all these discounts over the last 8 years with the belief that we have an agreement here. No. I will do things to help the team. You will also put me in the best position to win, and you will respect what my ultimate goals are. And when this offseason he came to them, said, listen, according to Tom Curran, in 2017 I asked for an extension. You said, well, you got years left on your deal. In 2018 I asked for an extension. You said you got years left on your deal. Okay, well, now I don't. Now I've got 1 year left on my deal. By the way, the same situation Big Ben found himself in, he got a contract extension. We talk all the time that quarterbacks don't go into their walk year. I'm Tom bleeping Brady. I just won my 6th Super Bowl, so obviously I'm going to get an extension. And when the team says no to that, it makes him reevaluate all of the whole history there. Have we been working together, or have you been taking advantage of me? And I feel if I were him, I'd feel taken advantage of. And I would feel, okay, you guys don't appreciate what I've given you because you guys won't pay it forward with the thing I want, which is a chance to play till I'm 45.
It's rare that the GOAT will ever feel this, but this is what NFL players, sports players have felt for a long time. This is a business, and we love you. We love what you're able to do for us, but unless you could bring us championships now, we can't pay you for past performance. That's what a lot of different players have felt for a long time.
Brian.
That's just the way that it is. That's how sports work. If you can't help us now and moving forward, we can't pay you for what you did 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, and I was keeping it real.
Yeah, I like that.
I know you do. Back here, First Things First, now joined by NBA champ, former All-Star Antoine Walker. Good morning, Antoine. Nice to see you. I don't tap nearly as hard as he does. We missed you, too.
Good to see you. But now we're officially full on in basketball season. We've seen you a lot more. Good to see you.
And, man, there's a lot to talk about so far in the early part of the season. Antoine, let's go viral, though. First, check out Kevin Durant practicing over the weekend and looking pretty good as he rehabs from that ruptured Achilles. Twan, any chance we see him this season?
No. He'll need to come back this year, but it's good to see. He'll have an easier time coming back than DeMarcus Cousins or other people with this injury because he's leaner.
Because he's so much lighter.
Yeah.
I think this is extraordinary to see.
No.
And it does make you wonder, though, that if the Nets, instead of being 23 and 28, if they were playing better, if they were like 31 and 20 right now, would you maybe see them try to get him back for the postseason? I think still probably not, because this injury happened with him rushing back from another injury.
That's a good point.
But it is great. People wonder why there's ratings dipped in the NBA this year. There's a lot of theories. One of them is Steph ain't playing. KD ain't playing.
Yeah.
Zion missed the first 45 games. Having KD back next year and seeing him with a new team for the first time in a while will be absolutely great to see.
Plus, you don't have Kawhi. Oh, that's not.
Well, I mean, you don't know when you're going to get Kawhi on and off. We'll see. He played last night.
Speaking of.
Didn't play last night, pardon me.
He did not play last night. That's why we're talking about this. Talk about the Clippers. They absolutely crushed the Cavs last night by 41 points. Somehow doing it without Kawhi in the lineup. Yep, he didn't play, but Lou Williams did, dropping 25. Despite having to manage different injuries and lineups this season, the Clippers are still just 3 games back of the Lakers. Twan, how wide is the gap between these two teams now, Clippers and Lakers?
It got closer. I think because Morris brings a toughness that they didn't have. A guy who can score the basketball, who's having a great year with the Knicks and come in now.
44% from 3.
Yeah, so a guy that can actually, extend the floor. And they can play small now, which is more important. And then he can get through the season. And we know Kawhi's not playing. You just talked about that real quick, not playing. So now they can rest him even more if they have to, rest Paul George. They'll be in the playoffs fresh. So they've closed the gap. But the difference is, in this series, if people really look at it, to me, LeBron's had an unbelievable year, playing terrific. I love the assist. But against the Clippers, he needs to be the old LeBron. Get 30, 35. When we saw against Golden State, when he gets 35, 40 points, to beat the Clippers in the 7-game series, he can't be the passive LeBron, hoping everybody else makes shots and play the game with the triple-doubles. No, you got to go get it. And I think if LeBron puts that mindset, they're still even.
So it's very interesting. So you said the Clippers closed the gap a bit. I think that the Lakers are the team. When the question is posed, how wide's the gap? On a lot of shows, people will talk about the gap between the Clippers and Lakers, but it's flipped.
As the Clippers.
Despite the fact the Lakers have had the better record all year, they have the best player of the two teams. They have the best second option of the two teams. They have an easier path to the NBA Finals because they're the 1 seed. They're right now positioned to have home court. Despite all that, people have been trying to speak into existence LeVar Ball style. No, the Clippers just must actually be better than what we've seen up to this point. And it's very interesting if you're on NBA Twitter, the reaction Saturday night. The Lakers got more criticism on Saturday for a narrow win over Golden State than the Clippers did for getting blown out by a team that hadn't won in a month in Minnesota. And by the way, that was a game Kawhi was playing. That wasn't his weekly rest game. He actually played, and they got beat by what? What'd they lose by 30 in that game? I'm sorry, 27 points. Let me give them full credit. Listen, the Clippers are a very good team, but they did not address their biggest issue at the deadline. Their biggest issue is the lack of a rim protector. The Lakers didn't address their biggest issue at the deadline, which is another ball handler aside from LeBron. The distinction is this. In the playoffs, the Lakers can just say, LeBron, you got to play 42 to 44 minutes. And he has shown the ability to do that. The Clippers can't say, Montrez, we need you to grow 3 inches. They can't say, Zubac, we all of a sudden need you to be a legitimate rim protector. So I don't think the Clippers can solve their biggest issue. The Lakers can solve it simply by saying, hey, LeBron, greatest player ever, we need you, and even in year 17, to be that. And he has shown the ability to do that.
Just only against the Clippers. I mean, every team, different teams he can play differently. But against the Clippers, he has to impose his will. He has to go to the block. He has to post up. He has to be aggressive on the offensive end. He can't be the point guard, LeBron, against the Clippers if they want to win. They need him to be up there. And obviously, I disagree with you a little bit as far as ball handling. I just think LeBron James hasn't given the Rondos, the Avery Bradleys, those guys an opportunity to really handle the basketball. He's been real dominant, even more so, I think, this year than before in the past, where his ball handling, where he's given a little to Kyrie and allowed Kyrie to make plays. He hasn't did that a lot this year with these guys, whether or not he doesn't trust them or he's just in that mode right now where he feels like he's trying to do something that he hasn't done in his career, and that's lead the league in assists.
What does it say about the Clippers that despite whatever they've been going through, there was some discontent earlier on. There were injuries they had to deal with, no real chemistry because Paul George started late and Kawhi doesn't play that much. All of that, they're still kind of right there on the Lakers' heels.
Yeah, they're
Does that
really,
surprise
really
you?
good. No, because they've got 2 of the 12 best players in basketball. They've got a good, maybe it's a touch overrated, but a good coach. Lou Williams is extraordinary at his job. You have guys that know their roles. Listen, just because I don't think the Clippers are the best team in basketball, just because I want to trust the evidence we have of the 53 games, 52 games, depending on how many you've played, doesn't mean I don't think they're a good team. But I do think they are judged by a different standard than the team in the same city in the Lakers. When the Lakers lose, we talk about it as if, okay, what is wrong with them? When the Clippers lose, even that loss to Minnesota is horrifying. They lost to Minnesota. You cannot. I understand Minnesota hit 25, 26 threes. That was, but everyone told me the Clippers are going to be a dominant defensive team. You just let Minnesota score a $142. D'Angelo wasn't even playing yet. And we just, again, okay, who cares? We'll see him in the postseason. We'll see him in the postseason. I just don't buy it.
The Clippers got a couple problems. One, I've been playing this game, and Nick, you got to get some rhythm. And Kawhi Leonard, to me, is killing himself not getting any rhythm. Playing one game, sitting out 2, playing one game. I don't care who you are. Look at LeBron James, 17 games in. He plays every game because he's trying to get a rhythm, get himself in the best possible shape, condition to make a deep run in the playoffs. You got to play basketball. Can't play 65 games, 60 games, and think you're going to be able just to turn it on come playoff time. It's not going to happen like that. Morris gives them some depth now if they want to do that. And the reason why the Clippers winning, they don't talk about it. Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell having career years. I mean, Lou Williams has been consistent throughout his career, but they're playing great basketball. Pat Beverly's been consistent when he's on the floor. So they're getting great play from other players. But the 2 main guys, they've been good, but they haven't been great. They're not up for MVP. You know, they're not like, killing the league. So they got to improve as far as getting Kawhi on court, getting him into a rhythm where he's playing basketball more, stop the load management if you want to win a title, because anything can happen.
They're not going to stop the load management. And the Clippers right now would be potentially facing Houston in round 1, facing Denver in round 2 on the road, and then if you get through them, facing the Lakers in round 3. And I understand there's no travel for that series, but if the Lakers-Clippers play each other, those are 7 home games for the Lakers. Laker fans are going to buy out that building, which is another issue the Clippers, now there's nothing to do about that, another issue the Clippers are going to have to deal with. I feel like there is this, it's so odd what's happened. Kawhi, because of his sensational playoff run last year, which, by the way, he trailed off in games 5 and 6 against the depleted Golden State Warriors, but he was sensational in round 2 against the Sixers. He was excellent in round 3 against the Bucks, and he was great in games 2, 3, and 4 against Golden State when Toronto took control of that series. But we give him more of a benefit of the doubt for what he's going to do in the postseason than LeBron James, who the last time we saw him in the postseason, after playing all 82 games, hit 2 game winners, had 2 dominant game 7s, and averaged 34, 9, and 9. In a playoff series, who do you trust more? The greatest player we've ever seen or second greatest player we've ever seen, or Kawhi, to me, that's not a question.
No,
it's not a question.
It's LeBron James right now. You still got to trust him. And everybody had a tough last couple weeks, and we're trying to put a grade and say, oh, the Lakers are back to the pack. They're still playing great basketball. Obviously, LeBron, I think when it comes to the Clippers, I said again, he just has to change his mentality and become the LeBron James that we saw in the finals against Golden State. And, he has to be that aggressive.
And they have to be able to close. In the 2 games they played against the Clippers, they've been tied going in the fourth quarter both times. They've lost both games. They got to close better against those teams. I also wonder if people, have you seen, Twan, what the Raptors are doing? They're 39 and 14. I think they've won, 14 in a row?
14 in a row.
Seemed like it's a pretty good team still in Toronto there.
Kawhi's not there anymore.
Kawhi is not there anymore. They're 17-5 last year without Kawhi.
Time now for Put a Grade on It, sponsored by CarMax. How about this? Last night, number 2 overall pick John Morant put on a show, dropping 27, picking up his first career triple-double to lead Memphis to a 106-99 win over the Wizards. Nick, put a grade on Ja's performance last night.
The only players as young as him to go 25, 10, and 10 are LeBron, Luka, and I think the other is former Grizzly Sharif Abdur-Rahim. I know there's a third. I think it's him. Ja's been, he's already one of the 8 best point guards in basketball. I give him an A. I thought he was sensational. I've had so much fun watching him play. And by the way, that's going to be a first-round series, I think. Lakers-Memphis. I was hoping it'd be Lakers-Pelicans. I think it's going to be Lakers-Memphis.
I don't know if they make the playoffs. Portland's starting to play good basketball. So I think Portland may get him at the end. But I give him an A. He's playing unbelievable. A+. He's a trend. He'll be a rookie. He'll be the rookie of the year.
Yep.
If you look at their roster, not to take anything away from them, they're overachieving.
Yep.
And he's doing a terrific job. He lets you know he's going to be a franchise player for 15 years. If I'm the Memphis Grizzlies, I'm going to continue to try to add pieces around him because they got a superstar in the making, and he's going to be an all-star in this league for 10 straight years. And you'll have a chance to go deep and have some championship aspiration with him because of his unselfishness that he plays with.
And they're building it well. It's sneaky good trade picking up Justice Winslow. If Winslow can stay healthy, I like Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr., but Ja's a superstar.
And you said it's so fun to watch.
Oh, my God. Watch Memphis, America.
Boyan hit the game-winning three-pointer at the buzzer to help Utah escape with the win last night.
Impossible shot.
Houston now 1-2 since trading away Clint Capella for Robert Covington. Or in other words, Houston now 1-2 since going all small ball. Twan, can the Rockets make a finals run going all in with this lineup?
No, they can't make a run with this team. Small ball is not going to work with them because they don't have the right personnel to play small ball. If you really look at that team and make up to play small ball, you got to have some guys defensively that's tough-minded, that's willing to guard bigger guys. I think besides PJ Tucker might be the only guy on their team.
And PJ Tucker's great at that.
Yeah, he'll be really good at it. But in small ball, you actually James Harden now he has to guard. Russell Westbrook has to guard. Then you got House. I just don't like, and Rob Covington, I like Rob Covington, but he's still not a great defender. He has long arms, and he could be a great defender, but they don't have the right personnel to play small ball. I don't think they're a great three-point shooting team. We know they make threes, but they take a lot of threes. So I don't think they're that type of three-point shooting team. And then they don't have those shooters like that, if you really think about it. And you look at the game last night, they got out-rebounded by 12.
They're going to get out-rebounded probably every night.
And I just don't think they have the right personnel. Now, if they'd have made a move at the break and got Andre Iguodala, if they'd have made him Jay Crowder, you add those 2 guys to the mix, now you probably can play small ball. You got to get the right personnel to play it. This is another wish, hope, dream by the Rockets to try to make a run. Let me ask you this real quick before I give my answer.
Prior to the trade deadline, prior to moving Capella, did you think they could make a finals run?
I thought they did with Capella, yes, I did. I believe.
Okay, so you think they got worse?
Yeah, they got worse with this. They're trying to play a different style of basketball mid-season. Eric Gordon seems like he's not going to be healthy. He's in and out the lineup. They're just not as deep as they were in the past. It's a different type of team. I don't like that they don't value possessions, and they've done that in the past. But, too many games, Harden's 2 for 13, 1 for 17. From three-point line. I just think you can't do that in the West. Too many good teams.
All right, so listen, I don't want to overreact to this shot. It's not even this game because that was, by the way, excellent defense on that shot. It was just a hell of a play by Bogdanovich. Like one of the best shots of the NBA season thus far. If he misses that shot, the Rockets are 2-1 since the trade, having beaten the Lakers and the Jazz, 2 teams you're going to have to go through in the West, with a terrible performance sandwiched in between against the Suns. With the loss, they're now 1-2, obviously, since the trade. 11-3, though, in games without Clint Capella this season, a shot away from being 12-2. Can they make the finals? Yeah. I still think they have, of all the teams in the West, the second best chance beside the Lakers, because I think you need to add massive variance to beat the Lakers, barring some type of injury, obviously, and the Rockets can add it with the 3-ball. But it is a massive risk. And to me, while I think their chances to make the finals actually ticked up 1% or 2 with the trade, because you saw what they did to Rudy Gobert yesterday. They made Rudy Gobert essentially unplayable. Well,
look at some of the Simmons that similar. Like, think about those Phoenix Suns teams. I mean, obviously, Amari Stoudemire can play a little 5, but he was undersized at the 5 position. Those teams, they hit roadblocks. That San Antonio Spurs was a roadblock for them. Shaquille O'Neal was a roadblock for them. You got to have a legit big man to be able to play in this game, because rebounding becomes such a factor and the possession game comes in play.
Well, the point that I was going to make is I think because they're going to be such a unique matchup, even in a 2-week playoff series, that maybe they can overachieve and beat a team they shouldn't. But because of this trade, they are also, to me, their percentages went up to get bounced in the first round. Mm-hmm. Their percentages went up to have the season fall apart. Listen, Daryl, I haven't spoken to Daryl about why he did this. I think there was multifaceted. I think they were concerned about Capella's health, not just right now, but for the rest of the season moving forward. I think that there's been reports pressure to duck the tax again, even though that wouldn't make a lot of sense to me, because they ducked the tax last year and you're clearly all in on this team. But I also think one part that shouldn't be underrated here is I do think what this will open up for Russ is really good. I think Russ is going to play with more spacing than he's ever played within his career. And you were already seeing Russ, while Capella was out with the injury, play some of the best ball the best ball he's played with the Rockets. And if you have Russ and Harden clicking at the same time, you're as dangerous as just about any team in the league. The problem for the Rockets has been Harden was clicking the first third of the year. Russ been clicking the last third, and now we need to see them do it at the same time.
And for this to work, they need to do it at the same time, right?
Yes.
How do you think go ahead.
Without question, they both got to be clicking at the same time. I think it just comes some of the other things. I think they both great players, great scorers. I trust that they're going to do their job, but they have to make commitments too defensively. They got to guard a little bit better. You don't have a shot blocker back there. You got to keep guys in front of you. So they got to change their mindset a little bit too. When you got Clint Capella back there, you can let a guy blow by you because you got somebody big challenging at the rim. Now, are they going to put their body in front of them, take charges? It's a lot of things, a lot of components with the small ball that I don't know if they're willing to make those commitments. And I don't know if that's the right personnel. Like I said, I think it's other. If you're going to make this big trade, it was other guys out there. It looks like Jay Crowder's been moving around. He's always been on the trade block. Andre Iguodala, do you believe that he could have been the difference maker? It looked like he was looking for a contract extension when he went to the Heat. Everybody thought he was going to the Lakers and the Clippers. So those would have been minimum deals. So he was looking for a deal. If you wanted to make a move and play small ball, if that was in your head, it was better players out there that could have fit in the system.
And listen, my one big criticism of the Clippers this year has been lack of a rim defender. Obviously, the Rockets now have no type of rim defender whatsoever. And against the Lakers, because if you're going to make the NBA Finals out of the West, you're going to have to go through the Lakers, obviously. The Lakers can play a better small than you can play by just sliding Anthony Davis in at the 5. Then they're still big enough to punish you for your lack of size, but Davis is so nimble and agile that he's not going to be punished on the defensive end the way Rudy Gobert was. Rudy Gobert was drawn away from the basket last night and was seemingly a man without a country. And so the Lakers can mute that advantage to a degree. Now, they're not going to play JaVale or Dwight much if they're playing the Rockets, but I don't think they'll need to, because they have a guy in Anthony Davis who, even though he doesn't like to play center, can play center and can take away some of your offensive advantages by playing
That's
small.
That's the great thing about the Lakers team. They're built for any matchup. They can play small, big, mid-size, whatever you want, the Lakers can play it.
And it's a very... Every move Daryl's made in Houston, I've understood the thread through. The first one that was a little bit of a head-scratcher was the Chris Paul-Russell Westbrook trade, but you got it because they were worried about Chris Paul's health, and Russ is a better player. This is the next one where it's like, I understand the argument for it. I'm not sure it's the move, given how close they were a couple years ago and that Russ was playing his best ball of the season.
That this is your best
that I would have made. But I think he feels like he got to shake the snow globe a little bit to have a real shot.
He should have looked at that Golden State team back in the day with Steven Jackson, your boy now, Matt Barnes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Baron Davis, they play small ball.
We got to take a break. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern.